All right, Bucs fans, we just lost to the Dallas Cowboys in the wild card round. And honestly, I don't think I can be too angry. Based on how we've played all season, it's not unexpected that we played this way. And I think anybody who is fooling themselves and believe the media narrative that, like, sure, Brady could have turned it on, but still our coaching was, horrendous. They were definitely, I don't think there was a single game where we outcoached an opponent. Maybe that Seattle game, but yeah, a lot of things to get into. So if you are new here, make sure you click the subscribe button down below. I am Rami B, and I post weekly Buccaneer reaction videos. So we lost 31-14 to the Dallas Cowboys. The score was not as close as it suggests. It was really a 31-6 game, to be honest. We had 386 yards of total offense, 334 passing, and 52 rushing. Again, a lot of it came when the game was pretty much out of hand. Dallas had 425 total yards of offense, 297 passing, and 128 rushing. I want to say they had about 400 yards of offense at the end of the third quarter, early fourth quarter. Then they just started kind of running it. I don't think they got that many first downs after that. The game was essentially out of reach for us. But let's start with our offense. Tom Brady was 35 of 66 for 351 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Arguably his worst game as a Buccaneer. It doesn't help that the offensive line was not protecting him. He was under siege the entire game, and I think there was officially 2 or 3 sacks recorded against him, but he was under pressure a lot. But even when he wasn't, he was jumping, he was feeling ghosts, and he was throwing balls short, overthrowing it, things like that. It did not look good, and you could tell from the beginning that this was going to be a very tough game, especially after those first 2 drives where we held Dallas to 3s and outs, and they held us. You could tell it was going to be one of those games offensively for us. That interception that he had was his first red zone interception since coming to Tampa in 2020. So 3 seasons, including playoffs. It was a horrible. He looked like he was going to throw it to Godwin. He pumped and then stopped and then threw it. I don't know if he was trying to throw it out of bounds and he just didn't have enough juice under it. But that was essentially going to make it at that point. I want to say we were down 6-0, or maybe we were down 12-0, and it was going to make it a 7-12 game. But it ended up being a pick. However, Tom Brady, though, did, with his 2 touchdowns today, he has officially been our franchise leader in passing touchdowns. That's including playoffs. So Jameis Winston had 121 passing touchdowns in 5 seasons. Tom Brady in 3 seasons, including playoffs, had 123 passing touchdowns. So he essentially surpassed all of Jameis's output in terms of scoring in 2 less seasons. Now, if you throw in playoff games, what are we? The first one 4, last year 2. That's 7 total games. So 3.5 seasons if you consider the playoffs as a season. But yeah, Brady didn't look good, and the Dallas pass rush is the reason that happened. Even their secondary, I think their secondary were very vulnerable deep, but Brady didn't have time or wasn't patient enough to throw it deep. So yeah, that's essentially that. Running game. Rashad White, 7 carries for 41 yards. Leonard Fournette, 5 for 11. I think I'm going to do a video later on of like off-season moves and changes we have to make, so I'm not going to get into it, but I don't think Lenny should stay in Tampa. On the receiving end, Chris Godwin, 10 catches for 85 yards. Evans, 6 for 74. He almost had that deep one, so we scored to make it 31-14. We recovered the onside kick with around 2 minutes and a couple of seconds left, or 2 minute, right at the 2 minute mark. And then Brady threw that go route to Evans on the right side. He beat his corner. It was going to be maybe a 50-yard touchdown. Hit Evans in the hands, probably like right here. Should have been caught by Evans. Would have been a touchdown. Would have been exciting. Would have been giving Brady another touchdown. I would have loved to see another deep ball touchdown, since it might be Brady's might have been Brady's last game with us. So it would have been nice to catch one more from Tom Brady. And Evans would have had the stats. But I mean, this year was definitely a down year for Evans in terms of production, and he just wasn't catching balls he normally does, and he didn't really lay out for the ball. I feel like he doesn't really lay out for many balls in his career, and I'm a big diehard Evans defender and fan, so I'm not going to knock him for that. But yeah, it would have been nice to have Julio Jones, 7 catches for 74 yards and a 30-yard touchdown. Beautiful, right down the left sideline. Caught it, bobbled it, got pushed into the end zone and completed it. K. Dotton, 4 for 58. Again, nothing but his upward trajectory all season. He's definitely going to be a weapon for us. Rashad White, 4 catches for 36 yards. Cameron Brate, 1 catch for 8 yards and a touchdown at the end of the game. So offensively, horrible performance. Can't say I'm surprised. This has been the performances we've shown all year. No creativity. We didn't start using no huddle until the 3rd quarter, I want to say. And you could, again, tell the difference. When Brady calls the plays, things open up. When Brady is not calling the plays, it's very unimaginative. Again, first down runs, really just bad play calling overall. You look at Dallas. Dallas was able to move the ball on us, and they were scheming people open. People were open all the time. wide receivers were open. There wasn't that many contested catches on the Dallas sideline, but you look at all of our catches are contested. Again, we have an offensive coordinator that does not know how to scheme receivers open. But anyways, defensively, again, like I said, we played a horrible game. Vita Vea was registered as the only sack. The first 2 drives, I don't know what was different. We were getting pressure. They couldn't even, I think their only positive play was a run with Pollard for like 2 or 3 yards. I don't know if we were man coverage or what, but the entire first half we switched to zone coverage, and as you saw, Dak Prescott and that offense figured out the zone coverage and were literally shredding us to a point where he threw 11 or 12 straight completions. At that point, up until that point, I didn't think he had a single completion. He was like 0-4 or 3, and then he ended up completing them straight. And probably the whole entire first half after that second drive, he probably only had 2 or 3 incomplete passes. But yeah, whatever, again, we are not built to run zone defenses. We did against the Saints our Super Bowl year and got shredded 38-3. We are not built for zone, and for some reason, our coaching staff is unaware of that. We ended up, our corners, Carlton Davis is a press man. They always talk about, even in the current, he talked about like against the Jamar Chase, the Bengals game, he talked about he liked kind of getting up on receivers and putting hands on them, and zone defense is not our strength. Even Sean Murphy-Bunting was starting on the opposite side. I don't think Jamel Dean got any snaps on outside corner. I think all the snaps were on special teams. Tell me a little about that. Jamel Dean has arguably been our best corner all season, our most consistent corner, and he didn't get any snaps. He put Sean Murphy-Bunting out there. Again, horrible coaching. Going into Dallas's offensive stats, Dak was 25 of 33 for 305 yards and 4 touchdowns. Again, very easy for them. Outside of those first 2 drives, they were able to move the ball at will, and it looked like they could have scored more if they really wanted to. Pollard, 15 carries for 77 yards. Zeke, 13 for 27. Dak, 7 for 24 and a touchdown. Dak's touchdown came on that 4th and goal, which was so obvious they were going to do a little bootleg action, and Dak was going to take it. I think Kenny Britt was KJ Britt, I think is his name. First snap he played on defense in forever, outside of that Atlanta game when we pulled all our starters and he had contained and he completely missed it. It's like, why would you put him in that situation? The season's on the line. This is the playoffs. He hasn't played all year, and you put him in that situation. Again, horrible coaching decisions. Dalton Schultz had 7 catches for 95 yards and 2 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb, 4 for 68 and 1 touchdown. Again, that touchdown was on a 4th down in the 4th quarter. And again, you want to talk about bad coaching. Whatever Todd Bowles drew up, for some reason, he had Joe Tryon-Shoyinka paired up one-on-one with CD. Of course, CD is going to destroy him. And if I ever was a quarterback and I saw a defensive end lined up on my number 1 or number 2 receiver, I'm 1,000% looking his way and I'm throwing the ball there. And that's what they did on a 4th and I think it was 4th and 3 or 4th and 4 maybe on our side of the field, maybe at our 25, 20 yard line, something like that. Again, horrible coaching, and this goes into what I'm going to talk about in like my season review video. But again, coaching, we've been outcoached. We're always outcoached. Our coaches do not adjust. They don't make the appropriate adjustments. Again, rinse, repeat. Michael Gallup, 5 catches for 46 yards and a touchdown. Ferguson, 1 for 34. And yeah, that's pretty much all the stats. As you can see, we were completely outplayed offensively and defensively. We're not using the appropriate schemes that fit the strengths of our players. We are not, adjusting as needed. And again, horrible play calling on both sides of the ball. It's always once it's too late, we end up trying to come back. And sure, it worked against, the Rams, who are a horrible team, the Saints, who are bad, even the Cardinals. But when you start playing good teams, especially teams in the playoffs, playoffs things get harder. It was never gonna look good. But yeah, it looks like we may have officially witnessed Brady's last game. 2 touchdowns and a pick. Could have been a 3rd one to Evans. I would have really liked for Brady to get 1 more just so I could enjoy it. But if it is Tom Brady's last game in Tampa, I know he's probably never going to see this. But for all the fans, I do want to share that if it is Brady's last game, I'm forever grateful and thankful. He gave us arguably the greatest and most fun 3-stretch period in franchise history. This 3rd year wasn't as fun, but we always knew that we had a shot with him there. But especially the first 2 seasons where we won 15 games including playoffs, and the 2nd year we won 14. So we won 25 games over 2 years, 29 games over 2 years, and had 8 or 9 losses. So we were like 29-8, something like that. The most winning segment, the most winning stretch of our franchise history. 2 division titles back-to-back, which has never happened before, and a Super Bowl win again, which we have 2 rings. Out of all teams that have played 2 or more, we have the highest winning margin in out of all the NFL teams and things like that. So we really had a very fun 3 years, I'll say, the entire 3 years. And can never take that away from him. He's the GOAT. And as a Bucs fan myself, witnessing the first Super Bowl in that era, and then now, definitely this was the most fun I've ever had as a Bucs fan, feeling like at least again the first 2 years, feeling like every game was winnable. But every good thing must come to an end, and potentially he may come back, and I'll talk about that in my next video, my season review. But I think that this is it. Again, I can't be too mad because it's kind of what we expected. It sucks that we had to go into the playoffs and lose out on draft position. But yeah, that's it, Bucs Nation. Tell me what you feel like in the comments down below. Comment your feelings on this game. Were you expecting us to get blown out? Like, again, I felt like obviously we had a shot. I felt like this was a game we could have won, considering Dallas has struggled the last few weeks, but I was leaning more towards it was going to be a really, really tough game. And had we not won this week, we would have absolutely gotten demolished by San Francisco. I know a lot of people were saying like, hey, 2 years ago we got destroyed by the Saints, we came back, or last year, you know, we came back against the Rams down 27-3, but I always keep saying, like, look at the teams the last 2 years compared to this team. Does it look like our offense has enough firepower? Does our defense get enough takeaways? Last year in the playoff game against the Rams, we had 4 or 5 takeaways, whereas this year, you know, we don't have any of that. We don't show any of that. And it was definitely a disappointing season. And I ask you to think about, has there ever been a team that had this much talent that was this disappointing and underachieved? You look at what the Giants did. You can't say they have more talent than us. They won a game. The Ravens were missing their starting quarterback, and they were in the game the entire way. The Jacksonville Jaguars were getting blown out and made a comeback. Coaching matters, and I hope our owners see that. And honestly, fire Todd Bowles, fire Byron Leftwich, and hire a new coaching staff. Maybe a new coaching staff will keep Brady. But anyways, again, that's a topic for another video. Thank you, Buc Nation, for tuning in. You know, disappointing loss and disappointing end to the season. Not that unexpected, but at least we got to see the playoffs one more time. And if it is the end of the Brady era, we may not see the playoffs for a couple of years. So definitely enjoyed it, and it sucks to lose. But as always, it's a Bucs life. Bucs Nation, let's go. And hopefully next year is not horrible. Hopefully it's fun and good. But yeah, thank you always for tuning in. And thank you for all your support, and I am out.
Let's go! You a Buccaneer